I can't hear you, but that's all right. Mm-mm. Like the streaming's good, but I just can't hear you for some reason. I don't know. Let me see. I don't know. Hold on, man. Let me try this again. Hold on, just. Are you there? I don't know. The streaming's good though. I just can't hear nobody. So I don't know. I don't know. The streaming is good, but I can't hear a thing. So that's all right though. I do know one thing though. Arizona will be better. They're going to be a better football team. Oh, man.
Hello? Hello? Can you hear me now? So he said he couldn't hear me. I'm not sure. If you're on with me, can you hear me? Can you say it in the chat? Okay. I think you guys can hear me now. So I'm going to try to get through this and keep going. I always seem to have some kind of issue for some reason. I was using my mic. It works when I use my other computer, but so anyway, Arizona Wildcats, best players. Jaden De Laura, the quarterback. He was a 2021 Freshman of the Year for Washington, transferred in last year. This will be his second year in the system, and look for him to be one of the key players, one of the best players on this team. I would say Cowing, a wide receiver, and defensive tackle Jordan Morgan, a senior offensive tackle. Offensive tackle Jordan Morgan, a senior, would probably be another key player for the Arizona Wildcats. A fun stat for them, and I don't know how fun this will be, but they had 5,543 total yards offense last year, but they gave up 5,612 yards in total defense last year. So they're going to have to improve on that. All right. Let's look at their schedule. Their schedule looks like this. So they start out as week 0. They have an open date. They don't play until the second. No, they play They start out with Northern Arizona at home. Then on the 9th, they play at Mississippi State, which would be a big game. Then they play at home at UTEP, away at Stanford, home at Washington, away at USC, uh, away at Washington State, open date on October 21st. And then they play home against Oregon State, home against UCLA, at Colorado, and the last game, nope, Utah, and then at Arizona State is their schedule.
Can you hear me, bud?
All right, I'm trying to get him back. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you. Can you hear me?
He's back with me, it looks like, I think.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay,
Can you hear
we're
me?
good now. I think it was I had to I had to do re-updates on my computer is
I
what it
mean,
was.
actually, since I got this new computer, this mic I'm using on my other one, I'm having trouble with every time I hook it up and try to use it on this new one.
Yeah.
And I don't understand.
So what?
I mean,
So
I'm
what
not
team?
doing anything any
What team
different.
are we on? What team are we on right now?
We're still on Arizona. I'm finishing up the. I just run through Arizona's schedule. You mean run it by you again?
Nah, I'm good.
Arizona's
I'm looking.
schedule. I
I
run
do
through
know.
Arizona's schedule. I'm going to set their win. I'm going to set their win total 6 wins.
Mhm.
Do you think they go above or under 6 wins?
Uh, I think they'll be better. Um, you know, in all phases, but the path to me to a bowl game hinges on how far the defense improves because last year they gave up 39 points a game and 6.6 yards per play in Pac-12, and that's not going to win you many football games. It's going to have to improve if they're going to get to a bowl game. Now
Yeah,
their offense is
and they
going to be
went 5-7. That was They went 5-7 last year. That was a 4-game improvement from the season
Mhm.
before. They have some of the players that I mentioned were defensive players. A linebacker from Oregon transfer, Flo, and Davis, a cornerback. So they're going to need some difference makers on defense. I've got them with that schedule. I've got them actually going 6-6. I think that might be where they wind up. I mean, they play at Mississippi State. They play USC. They play at Washington State. They play Oregon State,
Mhm.
UCLA, Utah.
Yeah.
At Arizona State. I think you know I'm going to put them 6-6 is where I'm going to put them for Arizona this year.
Are you there? But yeah, I think they'll win 6 games. I think they'll get to a bowl game. But like I said, their defense is going to have to improve, though. Your mic went out again.
Are you on with me?
Yeah, I'm here. Something with the restream in it. I'm here.
What do you think about Arizona State's new head coach?
I like Arizona State. Kenny Dillingham, he's got a lot of work to do. After last year, but they do have 10 returning starters, and they got a lot of transfer guys coming in. So I think they got Drew Pine, the Notre Dame transfer, Rashada, and Burkett. I think whichever quarterback wins that battle,
We'll go through
um,
some. We'll go through some of that as far as some of those. I just wanted to ask you about their with keys to the season.
yeah, I like Kenny.
What do you
I like
think will
Kenny.
be some of the keys to the season for Arizona State this year?
I think their front four are key priorities. Their secondary is pretty underrated, I think. So I think it's all
That's
about
what
their
I
front.
got. I've got their secondary and maybe cause some takeaways. I think on defense that'll be a very big key for them.
Yeah, their front four needs some work a little bit, but other than that, I think they got a shot at getting to a bowl game because, like I said, the quarterback position, there's some talent in the quarterback room.
Right. All right. So their top transfer in, who do you think that is?
I think it would have to be Drew Pine, wouldn't it, from Notre Dame? I mean, if you look at it from a offensive perspective,
I've got from California.
yeah, I think he would be a big one too. But I think quarterback play is crucial, especially in today's game. I think Drew Pine's a big.
And
Rashada is a. Rashada is a. I think he's a true freshman, if I'm not mistaken. And then they got the senior Burkett, which I think they're going to have plenty of skill positions. I agree with you, and I just think they got enough people at the skill positions at wide receiver to do some damage in the Pac-12, especially in the lower part of it.
Right. All right. The Sun Devils key players for the season. Who you got?
I think you got to look at Elijah Badger. He's a wide receiver. Tight end Jalen Conyers. Scatbo he's a Sacramento State transfer. He's a running back. Then I think you got to look at the quarterback position. Which they do return, like I said.
The key player, in my is going to come from the quarterback position. They have three with Barquette or Drew Pine or Jaden Rashada as a true freshman coming in. They need one of those and play that position well to have a great season. I think that's going to be the key position.
Do. I agree with you.
Yeah. All right. Key game.
And the thing too, though, I will say another thing real quick. Arizona State did give up 31 points a game last year, so their defense is going to have to improve as well. But that all starts up front, I think.
Yeah. What do you think's the key game of the season for them? I'll give you mine. Start out with, I think it's October 7th, Colorado. That's what I have as their key game.
I think too the early game that they play in September against Oklahoma State at home. I think that's crucial because in between that you got Southern Utah and Fresno State. Because if you could pull off a upset right in the middle there, you're not really looking that bad because you got USC and then California coming up, which USC is not going to be no slouch, but it is at Arizona State. So I think that key game there to
Yeah,
me
but
is
if you can
Oklahoma.
pull off win against Coach Prime,
It does a wonder for your program. I agree. Yeah,
yeah,
especially recruiting,
I just feel
recruiting wise
like
too.
that's yeah. I just felt like that was a key game. Looking at their schedule, I picked Colorado October 7th.
Mm-hmm.
Best players. Now you can count your best players and tell me who you think some of the 2 or 3 best players are for Arizona this year.
I pretty much named a few of them. I guess.
Yeah,
You got to look at um, trying really.
Badger, the wide receiver.
Yeah, Badger. What's the one guy's name? Drew Pine, the quarterback. Um, he's
Yeah,
he's pretty. He's going to be pretty good. Um,
does
I
he
tell you
hold
what,
off
there's a
Jaden Rashada?
I I don't know. Rashada's pretty good.
Yeah,
I will say there's a freshman that
I
they
mean,
got.
I'm just throwing it out there.
There's a freshman they got that they in fall camp that they've talked about quite a bit, and that's CJ Fat. Um, he's 297 pounds. And he's a pretty strong guy. He is a guy to watch on the front four. I think he's a freshman because I think there's going to be a lot of guys in this Arizona State team that are not underclassmen that's going to play a lot because they had to pretty much scrape from the barrel last year to get to back to where they need to be because that Herm Edwards situation was a disaster. To be honest, let's just be let's just be
It was.
let's just be realistic about it. It was a disaster,
It
and
was, but they're past that now. So, but yeah. So, fun stat. This is not really fun for Arizona State fans or the Sun Devil fans because they gave up nearly 50% on third down conversions last year. They were 77 of 156 third down conversions last year. So that's something they definitely have to get fixed if they want to improve off of a 3-9 season last year.
I will say this about Coach Kenny Dillingham. He don't put up with a lot of foolishness. He's already dismissed 2 players already from the team. That was earlier today. He said if you do not fit this team's culture, you will be off the team. And I think that's a great sign for people wondering what was going to happen from last year with Arizona State, that this coach ain't going to put up with it. You know what I mean? And that's he kind of reminds me of a young Stoops. Just no BS, no nonsense, And I like that from a head coach.
Right. All right, I'm going to take a look at their schedule real quick. They start out August 31st against Southern Utah. They play Oklahoma State at home. They play Fresno State at home, USC at home, at Cal, Colorado at home. They have an open date, then at Washington, Washington State at home, Utah, at UCLA, Oregon at home, and Arizona at home. That is their schedule.
That's rough, man.
And I am going to season their 5.
Yeah, that's where I'm at because there's always that possibility that you could upset the Oregon of the world, somebody, but you're going to have to beat somebody you're not supposed to get to a bowl game. is what I'm getting at. So they're going to have to either upset Oregon at home, a USC, or they're going to have to take the rivalry game with Arizona, because that could be a make or break game too, the last game of the year. So,
Right.
but I'm with you. I think 5 wins is the minimum at this point.
Yeah.
Just by looking at their schedule. Yeah.
Well, so I'm going by DraftKings with these settings for the most part. I may have moved it a half a game here or there. I am kind of going by DraftKings on some of these that I've got. So all right, I can't get them to come up yet, but the next team we're going to go to is Cal. We're going to California. And
This is, I will say this
get that
about
to come
Cal.
up. Going to Cal.
You know, this is a key stat about Cal. They're only 10-18 over the last 3 seasons. And I think this is a make or break year for Justin Wilcox, in my opinion. I will say this, though,
Yes,
as we get on to it.
He's entering his 7th year.
Yeah, and which their defense does return 10 starters. So the defense might be better than you think they are. So the offense is where the tweak needs to be.
Yeah. So we're in the program 30-36, 7 years. He went 4-8 last year. So that's kind of where they are. Keys to the season. I think one of the keys to the season is to get their defense off field.
Yeah, that's the big question, because in which they do have 10 starters coming back, and they got the McMorris kid. I think it was from San Diego State, which was a big plus for their team and the defensive side. But man, you can't stay on the field all night long. Like it's in peril. You get those third down stops.
Yeah, I mean, I'm serious. I think one of the keys to their season is they have got to figure out a way, however they can, to defense off the and not stay on the field for 2/3 of the game.
Well, and another thing too, their offense only averaged 24 points a game last year. So it's not like they was really struggling, because there's a lot of teams that, hey, we won't mention any names, didn't even get a touchdown in a ball game this past season. One on a safety.
Right.
you know who I'm talking about. So
At
the same time,
So their top, I think, is going to be David Reese, linebacker from Florida. He transferred out to Cal to play for the Bears. I think that's a pretty big gift for them. They did lose a wide receiver to UCLA. Sturdivant it. I think that's kind of a key loss. That would be my biggest loss and top transfer. Key players. We'll try to get that to come up. Can you hear me, Hammonds?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was trying to talk.
So having
they get back
issues here, guys, and I mean,
yeah,
it looks like I'm going to have to go to something else to be able to do this.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Key players. I have their transfer quarterback Sam Jackson from TCU,
Yeah, from TCU.
as their key player.
Jeremiah Hunter is key too. He's at wide receiver.
Yeah, he transferred in from TCU. Would have been in line. Yeah, and him listed as the key players. So that's a couple of key players there for you. The key game this season for California, I've got it listed as October 7th, Oregon State.
Yeah, I think that'd be.
I mean, Washington State and Oregon, both games, that they need to have a resurgence and maybe 6 wins and get to bowl eligibility. I think that Oregon State game at home is a big one.
Yeah, and Oregon State is going to be pretty decent too. So we're going to have their work cut out for them.
They are. Absolutely. Absolutely, I agree with that.
I will say
so
this,
best
though.
Players on.
I was going to say a quick stat real quick. California gave up last year up front. They gave up 31 sacks on the offense. That's not going to win you many football games up front.
Yeah, they did. Fun stats over here that I got listed. Best players on the team. David Reese, the linebacker from Florida, is going to be one of the better ones. I would think Sam Jackson from TCU is probably going to be one of the ones. And they have a running back by the name of Ott. He's a sophomore, Jaden Ott. I think he might be one of their best really offensive players.
The Sermons kid, the linebacker, is going to be really good too. Jackson Sermons, he's good.
Yeah, the Jackson Sermon. Yeah, linebacker kid. Yeah, he's a good one. Yeah. One stat you kind of give, they had 30. They gave up 31 sacks last year. So that's something that's got to be fixed and improve on the season. A look at their schedule. I'll kind of run through their schedule for you real quick. They play at North Texas. They play Auburn at home, the second game of the season. That's going to be an interesting game. Idaho at home, at Washington, Arizona State at home, Oregon State at home, at Utah, open date. Then they play USC at Oregon State, Washington State at.
You're looking at probably a 3.
I'm going to set over and under at 5. I'm going to set their over and under at 5 wins.
I wouldn't
think they go over or under.
I think they're under that. I just don't see them. That schedule ain't easy, man. Like, you got Idaho there, but Auburn's going to be improved. There's a lot of teams that's going to be improved, and that schedule don't set up well for California. So I think you're looking at maybe 3 wins, 4 wins, something like that. We still got you. Are you back? Are you back there, Brad? I can't hear you now.
How now? How about now?
Yeah, I hear you now. Got a lot of
Okay.
technical
I don't
difference.
know what happened. I didn't.
Yeah. We're having a lot of
Like I
technical
said, I didn't even hit
difficulties
the
here
button.
recently.
I don't know, man. Like I said, I've spent my new thing for this. Like it just nothing I do seems to be working. So
But like I said, I believe you're going to get probably the 3 wins for California. It
okay,
left again.
can you hear me better now?
Yeah.
All right. I tried to switch something around real quick.
Yep.
All right. I'm going to USC or to UCLA.
Yep. Okay.
All right. UCLA went 9-4 last year. This is Chip Kelly's 6th year, and he is only 27-29 at UCLA.
Yeah.
Is he on the hot seat?
Uh, I wouldn't say that because in 22 they had their best record under Chip and their highest total, I think, since 14.
They went
But
9
I
and
think,
4.
but I think he needs to go beyond 9 wins in 23. Um,
Okay.
they
So let's dig into this and let's see if you think above 9 wins is possible. Keys to the season. I think one of the biggest keys to the season is they need to be on the right side of the turnover battle.
Mm-hmm.
That's one that I have. What do you think?
Yeah, they. I tell you too, though they're transitioning on offense too. But like I said, their main concern is defense. They allowed, I think, 29 points a game last year. Um, so, and they're going with the true freshman at quarterback. The front runner Dante Moore. Um, and they got I think a running back from Ball State was his Carson Steele. Zach Charbonnet was the running back last year, so he's going to be taking over for him. So there's a lot of key things here for UCLA offensively and defensively.
Right. All right. So their top transfer, I think, is definitely going to be Carson Steele from Ball State, the running back.
Yeah, he's the main piece, I think.
Yeah. And they don't really have a key loss. Their biggest one is probably their place kicker. They don't really have a key loss, a transfer loss, which is kind of odd. But
which they do. They return Latu and Murphy as their edge rushers. So, and they return 8 returning starters on the defensive side. So, there's going to be some experience coming back for UCLA.
Yeah. All right. Key players.
I think it's Dante Moore, the quarterback. You know, you're throwing a freshman into the mix. You know, he's not going to replace Dorian Thompson Robinson at quarterback, but at the same time, it's going to have to be a fast transition offensively because you're going up against better teams this year. You know, USC is going to be really good. Oregon's going to be good. You know, Oregon State's going to be a lot better. Arizona's going to be a lot better. So they're going to have to make it quick, like especially because you've known UCLA, Brad. There's been 2 or 3 games where to start the year they come out slow, and they try to pick it up towards the end of the year. They're going to have a fast start.
Yeah. I mean, I've got their senior offensive tackle, Counta, Counta. I've got him listed as a key player. And then their key game, I actually have their key game listed as Utah 20.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest game of the year for them.
Yeah, I have.
I think you're looking
that's an early SC. I know the USC game's a big deal and no, but you know if you're going to point to a key game early in the season, I think it's at Utah, September 23rd.
Yeah, I do too, and the fact is that could probably either derail the season or make it a bigger season. It just all depends on how you come out. Like you can't go into it and get blowed out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, I just feel like that's one of their keys to the season.
And I'm just going to go ahead and give you
best players.
Like I said, Dante Moore. And I think those 2 edge rushers are going to be crucial because their defense needs extra guys back to help the defense that struggled last year. Last year was tough. UCLA last year they gave up a lot of yardage.
Well, I'm going to set their win total at 8. Do they go over or under 8?
I think they go 9. They beat somebody they ain't supposed to. Let's change it up a little bit. You keep it at 8, and I'll keep it at 9.
So you've got them at 9 wins. Is that what you're saying? 9-3?
Yeah, I think they'll win 9. Yeah. I can't wait to come back to review this later.
It started out okay, but it's just, I don't know. It's really hard to go through and can't operate. I'm going to try to switch to Oregon.
Oregon. They just missed the trip to the Pac-12 championship last year.
They did.
They also returned Auburn legend Bo Nix.
Yeah, led by Bo Nix. Went 10-3 last year. Went 7-2 in the Pac-12. They just missed, being able to play in the Pac-12 championship game last year. That was between USC and Utah.
I'll say this about Oregon. Their biggest concern this year isn't, they're going to miss Noah Sewell big time. They're going to miss him and Christian Gonzalez, the cornerback. But they have the weapons on offense to make plays, probably the best in the league. But my main concern, they're replacing 4 starters on the offensive line. And that's crucial when you're playing for a title, playing for a championship. They're going to have to give them time to mesh.
Season, and they got to get a pass rush. I think they need a pass rush. It's been a few years since they were really great at getting into the backfield, and they used to be that way. And I think that's kind of, they've been down a little bit the last couple of years.
Yeah, it kind of switched from defense to offense when Dan Lanning took over in a way. But they do get 7 starters, or I think it's 6 starters back, or no, it's 7 back on defense. So they're going to be pretty good, offensively and defensively. I just think their front 4 up front is going to have to be better, especially replacing 4 guys.
Well, so the top transfer in for me is defensive end Jordan Birch from South Carolina. I think he could be a key cog in that defensive line. And then losing Justin Zona was probably their biggest loss in the transfer portal.
I'll say this, they bring back Nix, right? And then I think they got running backs Bucky Irvin. They got Noah Whittington last year. So that duo returns this year. They added Trayshawn Holden from Alabama, Tez Johnson from Troy. They got Junior Aguilu from Texas, the offensive lineman. So they went to the portal and they done some good work. So I think Oregon's not going to be in need this year again offensively. I think they're going to be just fine offensively. But like I said, I think their defense needs some work.
I'm going to say a key game for them is going to be at October 14th.
Yeah, I believe that's probably one of their bigger games of the year, in my opinion. I think.
I mean, there,
Or
of course, are other games you can look at and pick, but I say a key game for them is going to be that game.
well, the over and under for me, I'm going to give you mine already to just give you a heads up. I think Oregon wins 10 plus. I think this team's good enough to at least shock the college football playoff this year. I mean, I wouldn't say their defense needs some work. Like I said, their front four up front
Well, I've got
on the offensive line.
I'm going by Kings and by stuff. So I've DraftKings at 0.5, or they did like 10 days ago.
I don't know.
I think it should be set at 9. I was going to go at 9.
I don't know. This is a really talented football team. They're going to be – I think they're going to be even better than it was last year.
I mean, they're State, Hawaii, Colorado, Washington State, Tech.
I don't think they're really going to get tested until they play. I just don't think they're going to get tested until they play.
At Texas Tech is going to be a battle, I believe.
It will, but I don't think they're really going to be tested until USC.
I think Washington's going to be a test at Washington, 14th. Sure. I mean, I think they're going to go in 3. That's where I have them at. Oregon State.
Jonathan Smith has that program on the rise, my friend.
Oregon State have a 3. They
went to a bowl, blew out Florida in the Las Vegas Bowl, SEC school.
That was with great quarterback play, and they still went 10-3.
Well, to me, the biggest thing with Oregon State this year, they landed DJ from Clemson, and I think that's going to be crucial for them because, their passing attack wasn't as good last year, I don't think, and they're going to be a lot better. They get
they didn't.
They get Damian Martinez. They didn't, and they're set at running back. They got Damian Martinez. The offensive line is probably one of the best in the Pac-12. So they're going to be a team on the rise this year, and I wouldn't be shocked if Oregon State is one of those teams that we hear that might be playing for the Pac-12 championship. I mean, let's just be realistic. He's turning this program around, and the thing about Oregon State that people don't seem to grasp is their fans are passionate. That fan base, that stadium, that's one of the best. When they're playing good, that's one of the hardest places to play a college football game. The biggest thing about Oregon State, though, Brad, is they lost their linebacker Omar Spates to LSU. That really hurt their defense, I think, and they're going to have to improve.
Yeah, that's their biggest loss.
Defensively. Yeah, Spates was a really big key cog in their defensive backfield.
Yeah. I think a key game is at Washington State, September 23rd.
Yes, sir. That'll be.
I mean, that's one of them that I picked as.
I'll just give you that. That'd probably be one of the better games. If you're just looking at schedule early on, I think that'd be one of the bigger games for them.
So they have a bunch of players back from that 10-3 team. They have DJ coming in to lead them at quarterback. They are expecting big things. I've got them set at 8 wins. Are they going to go over or under of 8 wins?
I think there's a chance they could get 9. I think they could have the same kind of impact they had last year that they can do this year. It just all depends on the quarterback play, like you said, and I think they got improvement in that regard, which DJ wasn't the best at Clemson, but he's an upgrade to what they had.
I mean, they play at San Jose State, UC Davis, San Diego State at home. Then they play Washington State, Utah, at Cal, Colorado, Stanford, Washington at home, and Oregon. So they stay away from UCLA. They stay away from USC.
No, yeah, that's the key. That's the key right there.
They stay away from USC.
They get UCLA. Yeah.
And they get UCLA and Washington at home. You know, so I think they have a win.
It's possible, really yeah.
I mean, if they're going to challenge for the championship game, they got to get to at least 9.
Yeah, maybe 10, yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's go USC real quick. The Trojans, of course, have Lincoln Riley and Heisman Trophy winner Caleb Williams returning. So, what's crazy about the keys to their season is several times they give up 200 plus, even 300 plus a couple of times in games.
Well,
and they have to be.
I'm glad you said that.
To stop the run.
I'm glad you said that because that's what they improved at the defense. You know, they got Barry Alexander from Georgia, Anthony Lucas from Texas A&M. They got Mason Cobb from Oklahoma State, and they got cornerback Christian Roland Wallace from Arizona. So they loaded up on the defensive side of things. So hopefully the defense will be a lot better than it was last year. Last year, man, you'd be watching a USC game and watching Caleb Williams. They would quick score, and then the other team would be down the field and score all at once, all of a sudden. Then you had Caleb Williams back on the field. Like, that can't happen every single night because you wear your offense down that way, and you wear the defense out.
Oh, I know. And they did get linebacker Mason Cobb and Barry Alexander, the big players that they picked up. I do think one of their biggest losses in the transfer portal is Cortland Ford, the offensive tackle that transferred to Kentucky.
Yeah, that was a big one. Yeah.
I think that's one of the biggest losses.
I will say this though about the USC. They can have all that firepower all they want offensively, but if you can't stop children of the poor and the three blind mice, you're not going to win many games. I mean, you're going to be in a shootout many games, and you're going to be, having to depend on your offense to win the game for you, and that just can't simply happen. Like you got to give your defense a rest, man.
Well, I mean, looking at the schedule, I think a key game is all the way November the 11th at Oregon. That's what I got as their key game.
Yeah, that's what I had circled as well.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
let me ask you
I
this
know
question.
there's probably some more games.
Let me ask you this question: the over and under deal. Do you think USC crashes the college football playoff this year? Does that defense worry you? Like, I mean, I know they improved it, but does it worry you a bit that they
Well, I mean,
struggled
they
all
brought
last
in a
year?
bunch of transfers. They should be improved, and if they can improve, I mean, a 10-win season with the talent they have should be attainable. I've got them set at 9.5 wins, is what I got them set as.
That's what I got. I got it 9.5, 10. I do think they'll play for an opportunity to go to a Pac-12 championship, but you can't count out Utah. Utah has won back-to-back titles, so
I mean,
until they knock Utah off,
here's the deal with their schedule. Okay, you look at their schedule, USC. The first half of the year, they're not even going to get challenged, or they shouldn't. Their first game is October the 4th at Notre Dame, and that's the game of the year for them. The back half of their schedule, they play at Notre Dame, they play home against Utah, you remember lately, then they play at Cal, then they play home against Washington, at Oregon, and then UCLA at home. So the back half of their schedule is where the season's going to be the hotel sign.
well, and that front schedule, to be honest, they should be 6-0 going to Notre Dame if we're being frank. Which Notre Dame, to me, we're not on Notre Dame
when
yet.
They go Notre Dame.
They're going to be a lot. Notre Dame's going to be much improved. Well, and like I said, we haven't talked about Notre Dame. We will later on, but they're going to be an improved football team. So it's not like it's going to be an easy cakewalk to go into South Bend and win.
Right. All right. So we got Stanford. Stanford's got first-year head coach Troy Taylor. He's coming in as a first-year head coach, taking over for David Shaw. David Shaw had 2 or 3 down years, and and it's going to be kind of a rebuilding year, I think. Just to be honest with you, we're running low on time, and this is kind of been a crowd of different stuff. So I've got their win total set at 4 for Stanford. They do have a freshman quarterback that I think could come in and play eventually. He was a kid. He's a freshman, and it wouldn't surprise me if he doesn't get some playing time sometime this year.
Well, and tell you what, they struggled against the run last year, and they gave up 36 points in the Pac-12. Now, I don't know how much you can improve on that, but it has to be an improvement this year. Because you just can't. Because I remember when Stanford was a top team in the Pac-12. They was getting opportunities to go to the Rose Bowl and every year, and it just like they lagged out. Like the physical play stopped. When they had Christian McCaffrey, when they had Andrew Luck, is a physical football team.
Oh yeah,
and it's like
year after year
they went away from it.
Been So I think they'll give the reins to this freshman quarterback. I can't remember his name right off the top of my head, but I did list him in my article that I was talking about at the beginning of the show. I think that he could get a run before the season's over. And I'm going to be honest with you. I think Stanford's going to struggle to get 3 or 4 wins.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a really struggle for them this year.
Then we go.
Hey.
And everybody's.
Yeah, that's I just want to kind of.
Yeah, then we got Colorado, and everybody kind of wants to think that Dion's going to step in. He's changed the whole roster and got over 50 new players between high school and transfers and everything else. And he brought in his son. He brought in Hunter from Jacksonville State. He did bring in some good players. He's brought in a ton of transfers.
Can I
Do you
interrupt
think it's
you
going to
real
make a
quick?
ton of difference?
I don't because I'll tell you why. Because last year they gave up 44 points a game, and the defense to me remains a major concern. It's probably going to be a concern all season long. Now, offensively, they added a few depth pieces. You know, they got the kid from Kentucky, Cavassier Smoke. You know, they got the quarterback,
Smoke.
Travis, wide receiver, cornerback Travis Hunter, like you said. They got the Houston transfer, Alton McCaskill. He was a big add to this offense. And, you know, provided the line holds up, you know, they got the Kent State, you know, coach, Sean Lewis. He's calling the plays now. I think this is a rebuilding year. And I know people are going to say, well, it's prime, it's prime, it's prime. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Prime will find out how good he really is the first night on the year when he plays TCU. And he's going to learn this ain't patty cake.
And I think, yeah,
this ain't patty
absolutely.
cake.
And the second game of the year is against Nebraska, and I think that's a key game. I mean, if they can't beat Nebraska, you know, that's that. They're going to have a hard time finding wins, I think.
I'll tell you something. This ain't patty cake wagon. This is the Big 12, baby. You're coming to play big boy football now. Like, you better show up and play on any given Saturday is all I can tell you.
I mean, they opened the season at TCU, okay? So, you know, and then they come home and play Nebraska, the second game of the year.
Mind you,
You know, and then
TCU,
they play Colorado State, and then after that, the next game is at Oregon and USC. The first 4 or 5 games are at TCU, at Oregon, USC, and Nebraska.
to be fair,
Welcome to Big Boy Football, Coach Prime.
To be fair to Prime, Colorado State is not really the outliner here because they could probably.
I've got their win total set at 4.
But let's consider this. You said TCU, right? TCU is a year removed from the National College Football Championship. Let's just be realistic here.
I know.
Like, you know, you're walking into enemy territory, you know, and at a hard place to play in Fort Worth. And I just think it's going to be a rebuilding year. I just don't see it any other way.
Coach Prime get them to under 4 wins?
I got them at 5. They're going to beat somebody that they're not supposed to.
What do you think?
And it could be Nebraska.
You got them.
You know, because Nebraska's a rivalry, a former rivalry. They used to play about every year during Thanksgiving, on that Friday. It's a big game for them. So I think coming home and Prime's debut, I think they could possibly win that game. But Nebraska's going to be even better this year. And that's the key because everybody else is going to be improved. You're walking into a year where everybody in the Pac-12 is going to be improved. So, but I got them at 5.
Yeah, there's 5 teams ranked in the coaches poll that come out today.
This is a team that you're going that this could be the wild card for a opportunity to go to the playoffs. The Huskies.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, man. I got trying to get it to come up, and I can't tell if it's come up or not.
It has. You know, look at who they bring back. They bring back Michael Penix Jr.
Has it switched over?
Yeah, it switched over. It says Washington preview Pac-12. You know, like I said, they bring back Michael Penix Jr. They averaged 39 points a game last year. They bring back a bunch of playmakers. But the biggest thing to me with Washington was they couldn't stop the pass last year. And that's going to have to improve a little bit. Their defense is going to have to improve some. Now, they can score with anybody.
Yeah, I agree.
And I'll say this. They get Oregon and Utah in Seattle. How big is that? They don't get them on the road. They get them in their home backyard.
Yeah. And that's going to be 2 big games for them.
Kind of interested to see what their schedule is. What's their schedule till October?
All right. So you want to know what their schedule is? So they open at home against Boise State. They play Tulsa at home.
Game, I think.
At Michigan State. At
Mel Tucker.
Open date. They play Oregon at home, Arizona State at home, at Stanford, at SC, Utah at home, at Oregon State, and Washington State at home.
Well, they get the 2 big ones at home, I think, with Oregon and
I have their win totals set at 9.
I think the USC game will determine a lot too. Like how will they do on the road? But I think to win the Pac-12, they're going to have to win at least one of those games in Seattle against Utah or Oregon.
Yeah.
Which their offense, to me, their
Oregon
offense can play with
Utah
their
at
offense
home,
can play with
like
anybody.
those. They absolutely have to split at least one of those at home. They can't lose both at home.
No, you lose both at home, you're just guaranteed probably a Holiday Bowl if we're being honest. You're going to have to win at least 2 of those.
Yeah, I mean you can't lose both of those. So, I think they have a good shot of going 10-2. I think Washington is one of the absolute challengers in the Pac-12 this year. That's my pick as winners.
I think they can crash the party. I do. I think they can.
But I think good shot. Yeah.
They got the offense to do it. They got the offense to do it.
Washington State.
Like I said.
They do.
Oh, is that what we're moving on to?
Absolutely.
Washington State. Washington
State. Yeah, Washington State is the next one. I'm trying to hurry up and get done and short on time.
Well, I figured you was.
Washington's
Yeah, Cameron.
is
I was just saying Cameron Ward returns, but
I think they're
his
better
cast,
than people are going to give them credit for most of the time.
I'll say this. Their defense finished third in the Pac-12 in fewest points allowed. That's a big key for them. You know, you get a good offense and get a halfway decent defense, you can compete. You can compete every single night.
Six last year, went 4-5 in the Pac-12.